During the Civil War, Charles Francis Adams II, grandson and great-grandson of presidents, fought as an officer in the Union Cavalry. His brother Henry served in London as secretary to their father, the American minister to Great Britain. In 1870, Charles is at home in the rapidly changing United States. He is committed to the new dynamism, big business, and is determined it can be controlled by Adams' rules. To Henry, those rules appear to have been bypassed.
Damn it, Henry, you are giving up. You can't seriously consider this offer from Harvard.
There's an historical tradition in our family, Charles. Our grandfather was a Harvard professor early in his career.
Well, you can't leave Washington, not now.
I shall miss it. Do you know that one of the newspapers called me the third best dancer in the city? Now, that's fame, Charles. I was only pleased they didn't embarrass me by naming me first. There's a fine line between fame and notoriety.
Yes, back to your old tricks, that sovereign rule of yours. Serious things must be discussed lightly and light things seriously, Henry. You know how important your articles are.
Oh, very. They were all printed in obscure magazines. Even the typesetters didn't bother to read them.
Typesetters? You're exposing faults in our system that needed to be exposed.
You tried, too. You attacked Jay Gould on what he was doing with the railroads, and with what result?
Henry, have you forgotten our letters to each other during the war? We had dreams then. We cared. We saw ourselves as the beginning cadre of intelligent, honest men who would do something to heal the country. Well, it's more important now than then. Now, you have a right to be discouraged, God knows, but this country has exploded since the war.
Explosion causes debris. We're living in it.
We'll do something about it then. Don't go off and hide in some ivory tower. Don't spend the rest of your life teaching medieval history and being witty at faculty teas.
Oh, if that's my fate, I'm fortunate to have a brother in the battle.
You're damned right I'm in the battle. The railroads have opened up this entire continent. Here, you take Kansas City. Now, 5 years ago, it was a river village, Westport Landing. Nothing but a few planters' houses, warehouses, Negro shacks. Today, it's a city. I own real estate there. Stockyards.
I'm proud of you, Charles.
Finance is the new frontier, Henry. I'm not going to turn my back on it.
You should be pleased I'm leaving Washington. If I stayed, I might have to expose you.
Oh, no. Why do you think I kept insisting all these years on a railroad commission here in Massachusetts to regulate one of the most lawless industries in America? I believe I can change what is wrong, Henry.
No one in the system can change it.
That's pure cynicism, a cheap attempt to avoid responsibility. My God, Henry. With Grant and power, there's more fault in Washington now than ever before. Dig into it. At least give it a month. Decide about Harvard then.
I do wish Henry and Charles had finished talking. Henry would so enjoy hearing you play, Cousin Patricia.
Oh? He's very nice, Mr. Henry Adams. So intelligent. I expected him to be quite different, more like Cousin Charles.
They may seem to be different, but they have many similarities.
Not the important ones. I could never feel at ease with a gentleman who...
Who? What, Letitia?
Who hates Boston and refuses to be quiet about it.
You need to be at the pulse of it. Washington is your city. You've said so yourself.
Aging whores lose their appeal, Charles.
Oh, Henry is sulking, that's all.
No, I'm just being realistic. I went there, eager to be carried in triumph on my followers' shoulders. No one noticed me. Despite my brilliant articles, there's still no civil service. My efforts did not prevent Mr. Fisk and Mr. Gould from cornering all the gold in America. My essay on the Senate and the executive changed nothing. I've been running after the Adams go-kart. Now I've stopped. For God's sakes, Charles, let's go our separate ways. I'll be teaching at Harvard this fall. Miss Hooper.
Good morning, Mr. Adams. You look surprised.
At the sight of a woman in Harvard Library, yes, but I certainly don't object. Plato. In the original.
Well, I don't like translations.
How wise of you.
So Dr. Gurney is going to teach me to read the language. Are you enjoying your professorship?
More than I ever thought possible. It's incredible what the students are teaching me.
Do you always deprecate yourself, Mr. Adams?
I beg your pardon.
Well, you did when we met at dinner last week. Is it a habit of yours or an affectation?
I never thought about it. A habit, undoubtedly. A subtle warning to strangers not to expect too much.
You're shy. What a pleasant surprise. My first impression was wrong. Good morning, Mr. Adams.
Have a pleasant day, Miss Hooper.
Perhaps Miss Marion and Mr. Adams found it difficult to get away from the ball.
Oh, Miss Marion won't let nothing stop her. She'll be here at midnight to start the new year with you, Dr. Hooper. Unless that Mr. Adams, begging your pardon, sir, but those Adamses. Sure, they could have helped the Fenians back in the time of the trouble. Did Mr. Adams' father do it? No.
Well, Mr. Adams' father was minister to England then, Kathleen. Ireland was not his concern.
You say.
Ah, here they are. Here they are. No.
Good evening, Mr. Hooper.
Good evening, Mr. Adams. Fanny, Ned.
Father, Happy New
I've
Year.
disrupted your whole evening.
Nonsense. Now, we couldn't begin a new year without you.
It's a pleasure to be here, sir. We left the dance of the dead.
Adams.
Boston hostesses dread entertaining for a simple reason. They've no one to invite except the friends they've loathed since childhood.
You're too hard on us, Mr. Adams.
Oh, it's nearly 12.
Kathleen, won't you join us?
Oh, no, thank you, Miss Marion. Spirits of the curse of me race.
If Irishmen drink too much, it's undoubtedly because of their women.
An interesting historical thesis, Henry.
Well, to my family and to Mr. Adams.
Happy New Year.
Your health, Father.
Thank you, Clover.
Now the new year has begun as it should. Why did you come back to Boston, Mr. Adams?
Harvard students. What do they need more than a comprehensive knowledge of the years 800 to 1453?
Now, don't joke with me.
I wouldn't. It's a fascinating period, particularly for me. None of my esteemed forebears had struggled to prominence.
All those presidents have prejudiced you, Mr. Adams.
Indeed, I try not to let them.
My mother adored her family. Perhaps if I had known her, I would have too. You still have not told me why you came back.
You are too persistent.
Yes, I am. I've been reading as many of your articles as I can find. You could be a very important man.
You insult me, Miss Hooper. I think I am.
Well, important in a different way than you are.
We're starting for home, Clover. Can we take you home?
That would be kind.
Good, I want to talk with you. I ran into your brother, John Quincy, yesterday. He asked my support in his race for governor. This year.
John's turning a willingness to run into an eccentricity. But then all the Adams have their peculiarities.
Just as the Hoopers do. Good night.
Shall I see you soon?
Whenever you like, Henry.
Mr. Adams, the latest count.
Ward 8. 300 less than last year. Ward 16. Irish Town.
Perhaps when the returns from the western counties come in.
They knew how to do it. They waited till they were asked. Now you have the Irish. You want a favor done, you go to the Irish forces or their ward healers. Damn it, I should have made a good governor.
Good evening, John. Henry.
Father, Charles, Brooks.
Well, son, you did your best.
I can't imagine why you want to be in politics anyway.
Brooks,
please.
Well, if there is one consolation, Father, you'll rescue the family name next year.
Yes, Father, stop being such an ostrich. You are the logical Republican reform candidate for president.
And if you're nominated, you'll win.
I'm astonished at the two of you. We shall talk of this no further.
All right, he will be president. And in his official portrait, he'll be smiling.
For 3 years, you've been ringing the fire bell trying to get Washington to admit there must be federal control of the railroads, and you haven't succeeded. And you still insist that I leave the ivory tower, climb back into combat. I've been a bloody gladiator, Charles. Once is enough.
Charles, aren't you enjoying the orchestra?
Oh, of course he is. I'm sure one of our honorable ancestors is responsible for its very existence. It's the intermission that's irritating him.
Come along, Minnie.
My brother has appointed himself minister of my conscience.
Perhaps he feels it's his duty.
I'd rather you were. In short, sir, I'm in love. I don't know why. She respects me. She has the taste to admire my opinions, my skills, such as they are. I don't think until recently she's thought about marrying, but perhaps because she didn't expect to find anyone who appreciates her as much as her own family does. But I do, you see. I think she will consider my proposal.
Can you support her, Henry?
My salary plus my income comes to $6,000 a year.
She's used to more than that.
Like any woman with sense, she has money of her own. You still haven't given me your consent, sir, your approval.
Henry, we want you to marry. If you're sure about it. Quite sure.
As sure as I will be of anything in my life.
How do you feel about him, Marion?
He's a brilliant man, Father. Dr. Gurney says he's brought revolutionary methods to teaching history.
How do you feel about him?
I think about him, Father. He could be the most notable Adams of them all. He doesn't see that.
Then he needs you. If he proposes, if he does, will you accept?
You and I need each other too, Father.
Less today than when you were young. And that's as it should be.
I hoped you'd be alone.
Charles is in the library. He wants me to read your article on socialist labor. I'm glad the university had the good sense to make you editor of that review.
I'm not so sure I am. Between the classroom and the editing, I'm a little pressed for time, just as I am now. Father, Marion wants to tell her father first, but I want you to know. She has accepted me.
I'm so pleased. And if you are happy, Henry, you know that your mother and I are too.
Father, this is exactly the reason for the railway strike in Fall River. Ah, Henry.
Good evening, Charles.
I'm glad you published this.
Good.
The radical labor movement is socialistic. Now, fortunately, when Sanity returns to Washington next year, Father will not give in to those ridiculous demands.
Me? You're not anointing me the new president again, are you?
Even in my ivory tower, we hear the rumor you'll be nominated.
My critics suggest that I'm merely a statue from our glorious past. A statue waiting for its pedestal.
Well, sir, if you would only accept a few well-chosen speaking engagements.
You're not suggesting that I run for the nomination, are you?
Yes, sir, I am. And once nominated, you'll have to run again to beat Grant. Horace Greeley hasn't your scruples, Father. He's politicking now with everyone who will listen. It's the times.
Well, fortunately, when the convention meets, I shall be in Geneva for the claims arbitrations.
Well, sir, may we speak for you then?
You may not speak as if I were campaigning. And you may not commit me to any men or any causes.
But you're making it impossible.
Don't you want to be president, Father?
What man would, Henry? Then what man would turn the chance down? No one in our family ever did.
You'll be comfortable in here, I believe, sir.
Well, it's out of the dampness, at least. Thank you.
What about the man from the embassy, Father?
Oh, he'll find us.
Well,
How does it feel to be back in England, Brooks?
At least this time I shan't be sentenced to their public schools. England may prize them. I don't, and never will.
Mr. Adams, welcome to Great Britain. I'm Spofford from the embassy.
Thank you, Mr. Spofford. This is my son, Brooks Adams.
How do you do? If you'll be kind enough to give me your passports, I'll arrange for you to bypass customs.
That's very kind of you.
Oh, I have a cable for you. It's been waiting several days.
Thank you.
I shan't be long, sir.
What is it, Father?
The convention has chosen Horace Greeley as its candidate.
Father?
Would you find out where we could send a message of congratulations to him?
I must say it's the last time. In fact, this will be the last time ever. Good night, Miss.
Good night, Mr. Adams.
Oh, there's one thing.
Yes?
I think you should know it. In fact, you must. There's nothing I can do about it.
What?
I shall be fine in Germany and even in Egypt once we get there.
Henry, please tell me.
Our honeymoon, the boat.
What about the boat?
From the moment we get on board, I shall be seasick. Good night, Clover.
It's my last night in this house. But I shall be very cheerful about it. For after tomorrow, I shall have both Henry and you. And while we're away, I shall write you every Sunday at 6. And you must write me then, too. Long, long letters.
Every Sunday at 6.
Will be our time together, wherever we are. Oh, and Father, you must keep after Kathleen and Cook. They'll nap all day if you let them. Oh, and the gardener does tend to drink on St. Days. You know that. You told me. Well, good night.
Good night, Paul.
Thank you.
I'm leaving Harvard, sir.
What? Are you Hotchkiss? In the middle of the term? If you have financial problems, I'll speak to the bursar.
No, sir, it's not that. Even if I get my degree, what can I do with all I've learned? Nothing besides.
Teaching.
I want to get into business, industry. There are a lot of opportunities just now.
Yes, I'm sure there are. Well, if you've decided.
Yes. I'm truly sorry. And thank you.
For what?
For making 800 AD to 1453 so damn interesting.
Clover.
Henry, what's the matter?
Ghosts?
I didn't know you believed in them.
Just my family's. Here, I just started this.
My dear Mr. Gallatin, knowing the deep respect my grandfather had for Albert Gallatin, I am most flattered at your suggestion that I come to Washington and edit your father's papers. Are you going to do it? Can't they have the papers sent here?
Let's leave Boston.
Henry.
Break away, move, smell the asphalt of Washington again. We can sit on a balcony and look down contemptuously at people in high places.
I know you're serious.
Yes, I mean it. I've been thinking about it for a long time without realizing it. You'll love living in Washington, Clover. Why are you hesitating?
I'm not sure.
It's just been the worst year of my life.
I know, Fanny. Charles and I still miss our Louisa.
She at least was a grown woman when she died. Mother Adams, to lose two young ones so quickly. I still keep thinking I'm going to see Fanny toddling towards the lemonade. John Quincy teasing Mary. John Quincy.
Fanny, please. John Quincy Adams never teased anyone.
We were talking of John Quincy III, Charles.
Oh.
Mama, Papa!
We're coming, Charles. I must have been dreaming.
About John Quincy Adams?
I don't remember dreams, usually.
I know.
But there was this ship out in the bay, Abigail. And old John Adams and young John Quincy were leaving this house at night to board her. And I was watching them. Only it was during the Revolution. And old John knew that if he could get to France, he might negotiate a treaty that could end the war. If only that waiting ship out there could set sail and escape the blockade. I was dreaming history, Abigail. I guess my own imagination's all run out. But in those days, the fate of one man could be the fate of a country.
Look at us all. Whatever our hopes, here we are. John Quincy, gentleman farmer, city planner, former politician. Brooks. There's a brilliant mind without a scrap of sense in it. He expects to become a successful lawyer by turning down the very cases that would make his reputation.
That's his way of keeping his integrity. You should approve.
You can become successful and still keep your integrity. You don't believe me? My God, Henry. After the war, in '66, I found myself married without a life. I was a colonel one day and office boy the next. I hated the law. No one was begging me to practice it. I saw another chance and I took it. I'm not ashamed of the money I've made.
Neither am I.
Aren't you? I have juggled too many lives. Official, literary, business. They've all been successful. A successful man is right 3 times out of 5. An unsuccessful man is wrong in the same proportion.
Why are you always defending your life to me?
We were close once. Maybe now I want you to understand me. We're getting older, Henry. I don't see it when I look in the mirror, but I do when I see Father and Mother. I used to think of you, me, Brooks, and Minnie as the future. Now they are. You and Marion should have children.
It's not possible.
I'm sorry. Well, you have your students. They'll keep you young.
Yes, they will. Till summer, at least.
Henry wants to leave Harvard. Boston. When he first mentioned it, I thought it was a mood. But it's not.
When will you be leaving?
I haven't really agreed yet, Father.
Why not, Marion? Isn't it your duty?
Is your father enjoying the afternoon?
I think so. Does he look well to you? I don't know why, but everyone seems so much older. I guess it's the children's fault. Will we leave for Washington as soon as classes end, Henry?
Yes, we will. We will. I still don't believe it. Gallatin's finished. Clover, it's so good to talk to you without part of my mind being back in 1798 or 1815.
But now I have to read 4 volumes.
I shall only be very hurt if you don't.
Well, I must. How will I know the reviews are fair unless I've read the books?
We'll ignore the reviews. We'll simply hurl the 4 volumes at the head of an unconscious public and go on from there. Perhaps a study of John Randolph, Aaron Burr.
No, Henry. You must finish your novel.
Democracy? Oh, no one reads satire.
Henry, I just reread what you've written, and it's brilliant. All the characters are so recognizable. I even think I recognized a bit of myself when Madeline couldn't decide whether she had real ambition or was just restless.
Madeline is a completely fictitious character.
Oh, Henry, I don't mind. I'm flattered. You're a writer. You must use who and what you know. Finish the book for me. Get it to a publisher before we leave for Europe in September.
Well, it would have to be published anonymously, of course.
No.
I wouldn't want that kind of notoriety.
Their cover must read Democracy by Henry Adams.
Half the town would recognize themselves. Senator Blaine, Cameron.
They both know what we feel about them. We've said it often enough. Frequently to their faces.
There's another consideration. My serious work.
This is serious work, Henry.
The historians won't think so. Besides, think of the fun we'll have, sitting there, laughing to ourselves while the whole town tries to find out who the author truly is.
Another game, Henry.
But an amusing one, at least. What does it matter whose name is on the cover? Oh, don't be angry, please. I need your help to finish it.
You need me in very curious ways, Henry.